Oh yes.
Why are we're early? Why are we
The
here so early?
magic, the magic is back.
What is happening?
We are either 4 minutes late because we decided to do 6 p.m. this week, or we're 56 minutes early.
I choose to believe that we're a week and an hour early. A week and 56 minutes early.
The and my phone's going to keep buzzing that I have to pay my MasterCard bill if I don't tell it to go away. How are you, Lance LeDuc?
Oh man, this is like I'm feeling the end of the semester. I feel like my brain has decided that the semester's over, yet the calendar would indicate otherwise.
That is one thing that I have. That since I don't have a semester, it's kind of nice. Like, yeah, I've decided that I need to get outside more too, but I don't have a job that's making me stay inside, so that's good. Guess where I am right now?
Third stall of a men's room off the I-95. The Interstate I-95.
The I-Interstate. This is your first day in America.
There's no I in team, but there is an interstate. Fourth stall.
Right down the street from where they make this stuff.
Really?
Oh,
Polar seltzer.
Yes.
Very nice.
I'm in Massachusetts. My parents are fully vaccinated. So Nicholas and I have been up here for a week.
Hey, that's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
So what was
pretty amazing?
What was the first moment? Like you pull up, like when is the he's like excited.
Oh, Nicholas, he flipped out. Yeah, he flipped out.
Then the excitement wanes, like, because you're driving a long time, and then so now the ramp up to get you to, like, does it hit in the driveway? Does it hit like when he's walking up to the house? Like what's the story?
It was when when we were walking up to the house, and then they came out onto the porch, and then I got actually an amazing photo of him hugging Grammy, and he was like, I posted it to Facebook, and a whole bunch of people said that it made them cry, like even people that don't know him or her. So yeah, it was awesome. So
that's so sweet.
Yep, it was good. It was good. Yeah, the vaccine is good. You should get it. Yeah,
we're getting our second shot on Wednesday, so
I'm getting my second shot on Thursday.
Yeah, that'll be a fascinating week. And then Mother's Day, actually, the Friday before Mother's Day, I'll get to see my mom for the first time in almost 2 years.
Wow.
So it's it's a different kind of emotion. When the little guy gets to reconnect with Grandma and Grandpa, that's like a whole other level.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah,
it was a whole thing.
Stoked. Yeah, my daughter's going with us. My son may or may not be able to get away to come, but
there you go.
It's going to be really, really fun. It's weird. It's like we were just we went out to take the dog. There's like a little loop. I mean, it's like it might be a quarter mile to go. We go out up to the corner, around this little alley, and back around to the house. It takes less than 10 minutes. And we made it about 4 houses, and then a neighbor invited us up. And then we hung out and talked, and then other neighbors came out, and like it's just like everybody's had their shots. It's like getting nice out. It's like everybody's like, there's humans. Like, it's very strange.
Yeah.
So our walk ended up being 50 yards, but even still, we had a really fun time and got to just connect with people in a different sort of way.
There you go.
Yeah, a good thing. So I heard, the other thing I heard, and I don't know what to do about it, but I heard that you're hosting an event.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actually, the whole reason why I am Prisk has already showed up, and he's already busting on me about fish. Why wouldn't he? It is low. I do make it easy. It's low hanging fruit. On your way to a fish concert. When I said, guess where I am? That was Tony's guess. Oh. So, which is actually a pretty good bet, unless unless we are in a, unless we're in a pandemic. So, I do have an event coming up. Jeff Nelsen of Canadian Brass. Have you ever heard of him or of them?
What's the name?
Canadian Brass. I think they're a brass quartet. No, I think maybe quintet. The
3 euphoniums, 2 tubas.
Yes, yes. That's like that's what's otherwise referred to as a Canadian quintet. Yeah, is when you got the third euphonium on there as a Canadian quintet. Yeah. So Jeff Nelsen, who is one of the
farmer, I thought.
one of the greatest horn players in the world, who just happens to be one of our idiot friends. But both those things are true. He's one of the greatest horn players in the world. Just ask him. But he is. I've got a new series called Inside the Practice Room, which is going to be a 1-hour workshop with Jeff, and he is actually inviting us into his practice room to show us how he's got it set up, the tools he's using. He's going to actually practice like a passage for us, show us how he approaches a specific task in the practice room, how he organizes his practice sessions overall. And there's also going to be questions from the audience. So you can learn more at hitzacademy.com. That's on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday in 2 days, April 20th at 8 p.m. But it's going to be available long-term in the archives. So if you can't make it live,
cheap,
then,
right?
And it's
That's the other thing.
If you use the offer code Canadian, then it's only $19. So.
What if you put the offer code Pig Farmer?
That should be free. So
why do I have I guess because we know him as like we do. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he had gone to the trouble to create like a Silence of the Lambs type lair that he was going to tell you was his practice studio. And he's like, hey, Clarice.
He does. He's
it applies
creative.
The valve oil.
He's creative, and he has follow through on doing ridiculous things. So yeah. Sometimes I'm actually thankful that I don't have a huge budget for doing stupid things, because I have a lot of bad ideas and I have a lot of follow through, but I'm just like, I'm not going to throw $250 at something to be funny. So, because if I was ever in that tax bracket, I've thrown a lot more than zero at being funny before, but like 250, just like willy nilly, not quite there, I'm not quite there. So, which is good.
To get Jeff Connor to do stuff, but it was like a group effort.
Absolutely. I don't remember. Yeah, that was what, $60 I kicked in or something. Like we all kicked in a lot. That was to get Jeff to eat a chicken foot.
And the wedding toast was my other favorite one.
That was another good one that we've lived all of those on the podcast. So, and I haven't really announced it, although it is up on the Hitz Academy. But the second guest for Inside the Practice Room is Michael Sachs, principal trumpeter of the Cleveland Orchestra. That's going to be May 6th, I think it is. It's up on the website. So, all
right, let me ask you some questions.
Yeah, man. And there's questions from the audience as well.
Okay, well, this is one.
Well, no, you got to pay, dude.
Hi,
you
I'm
have
Lance
to pay, and you have to ask
a long-time listener, first-time caller.
You have to enter your question into the Q&A function, and then if it doesn't suck, I will ask it.
All right. So, how often do you think you're going to have one of these events?
That's a good question, Lance from Pittsburgh.
All right, here's the next question.
Long-time
listener, first-time caller.
It's going to depend. I mean, if they take fire, they take fire. Interstate. Both of us are mangling, pretty basic speech here. If it catches fire, then I could do. I could do one a week. I mean, I think that probably more likely is like one a month. I'm going to be bouncing around the different instruments, though. I think the plan is to branch beyond brass. He doesn't know this yet, but Renan Meyer is going to do one for me. That's the beautiful thing about having really dear friends, where I can literally just text Renan and be like, hey, you're doing this thing for me. And then I won't tell him what day, because I'll give him the illusion of some control. I could do an end around and just go right to his wife, but I'll let him think he's in control a little bit. But so I think I'll end up branching, because it's also a very interesting concept to me, because it's also going to make me a better teacher and a better practicer and a more efficient practicer. So it's not just like an event thing where it's just kind of like a good way to make money or just a good way to teach people. I think I'm going to learn a lot from it, and I'm interested in it. And so that kind of checks all of the boxes. So, yeah, it'll be like a little bit of a to be determined in terms of the frequency.
What are you most curious to find out?
Well, one of the big things I'm going to hit with every guest is how they maintain a positive attitude, like either in the moment or overall. Something that you talk a lot about with the music practice coach thing is just, having an overall plan. Because I think there's going to be varying answers because there's not a way to, to approach all of that stuff. I think some of these people will end up having a really regimented, very structured, and then other people will be a little bit more loose, and kind of just hearing what works for everybody. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good.
And then when you have a bunch of them, are you going to do anything with them? Like, are they just going to be a series of these that live like this, or do you get that far yet?
Well, the plan right now is for all of the previous winning the auditions that I've done, which is another event that I've done through Hitz Academy, for Chris Martin. I just did one of the New York Phil, that's available right now, in the archives. So there's kind of going to be like a growing archival, option, and I might end up bundling them at some point, or being able to give students access to stuff and that kind of stuff. So it'll be, and part of it might end up getting, I'm teaching, I've been teaching lessons through Hitz Academy as well, not just regular lessons, but like 1-time or, 2-time lessons, and even sometimes instruments that aren't tuba and euphonium. And so start to kind of, package like, okay, you also get these if you sign up for a master, so just kind of getting creative, just kind of trying to blow up the whole regular, like you have to study with one person who's on your exact same instrument, and it's once a week, and it's at the same time, and it's the same amount of time each week. Because there's just so many ways to approach things that I think are educationally beneficial that aren't just doing it the same way for every student.
There's a strange parallel, which is the rise of streaming video content, which had been the case during networks. The TV episode was going to be 30 minutes or an hour, so 22 minutes or 50, whatever it was, with commercial breaks. And now, and it seemed like it sort of stayed like that for a little while, and now it's all over the place. So I've recently watched WandaVision, and now I'm most of the way through Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And each episode is as long as it needs to be to tell that part of the story, which is, I think, a really interesting and cool development.
It's I did in college, and actually a little bit in high school. I had my own radio show in high school. And
what was it called?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if I'm going to remember.
Ladies.
Well, it was all classical music.
Hello, dorks, with Andrew Hitz.
It was all classical music, but then there were times when, the signal wasn't very strong. There were times when I would alternate between classical and heavy metal. It's so there'd be it'd be like a tune off of Empire Brass, Class Brass, which was new at the time. And then I would play, something off of Toys in the Attic. It was, just kind of
so it's just heavy listening.
Yeah, heavy listening. Exactly. And then in college, I had it was not my radio show. It was called the Blue Screen Show. Brian Littman, who you've met, he had a radio show that I guested on every week. And that was on Tuesday nights from 2 to 3:30 in the morning. So I would always my first class of the day on Wednesdays, starting my junior year, was brass ensemble, which started at 12:15. So I would always show up looking like I had just woken up, because I had. And actually sometimes when that wasn't my first class, that was still my first class. So stay in school though, kids.
How would you have done with if you were in college dealing with what college students are dealing with in this past year? How would you have done?
That's a good question. To finish the previous point, I'm old enough remembering that when there used to be hard breaks, you would have to do the station ID at the top of the hour and that kind of thing. Whereas this format, this thing has no format, but podcast, but there is no format, right? Well, there is, but we choose it, right? We just, on the Gonch episode, we just added an outro, right?
Right.
Where we had, which I think is here to stay. We'll see. Because where we talked about the episode for like, I don't know, 10, 12, like if that had all been in the intro, then like everybody would have been like, that's too long. But like, if you're not into this outro, then like, great, then stop listening. Like there is no, it's not like we've put an Easter egg of the best Ganj content is like hidden somewhere in these 12 minutes. It's like, just skip it. Right. And so, but that's the cool thing is we get to just decide the whole damn thing. Right. Which I love personally. And now how would I handle now? It would depend on, this is totally passing the buck, but I think it would totally depend on my teachers, because and let me explain, there are some teachers that I had back then who at Northwestern or in graduate school, Sam Palafian would have been all over figuring out how to creatively harness all of the tools that we had available to us and like making the world smaller and like challenging us in new ways. And then there are some other people that I had, some of my academic classes where this is me just making an assumption, but I bet a lot of money that they would have just done a poor version of what the in-person was, and it would have been miserable. And I think I would have put a lot of energy into the ones where the teacher was open-minded and learning and challenging us in new ways. And I probably would have put dangerously little effort into the ones where the teacher was just taking an in-person class that wasn't very creative or relevant in the first place, and making it even less so on both of those fronts, like on some lame Zoom version of it. And I also am sure that I would have fully blamed them for my lack of effort, which which would not have been reality, but would have been my reality.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think same deal. Phil Cinder he'd have come up with 100 awesome things for us to go do.
Yeah, Rex Martin too. I mean, I
like that.
Yeah, but there are some of the teachers that I had where I'm just quite positive. Where, I mean, there was he's dead, so I can just say it. Theodore Karp, who wrote a music dictionary. The Karp Music Dictionary was like one of the music dictionaries back in the day, and he was very old. So I have not actually confirmed that he has passed, but like he'd be like 120 if he hadn't. He used to, when people would talk, if you want to talk about a non-dynamic speaker, holy moly, he was just like delivering classical music history, like, and it was totally the great man, the great person theory of history too, like not getting into zeitgeist or like themes or so, it's just regurgitating, like, and he was one of the world's foremost experts on like the amount that was up here was like, but like, oh goodness gracious, I would want to cry the times I actually went to class. But it was so boring that people would mess around in class. And I would never do that because that's totally, it
would be inappropriate.
Yeah, maturity is knowing when your behavior affects others. So I would never have done that.
Sure.
But his response to that was he would just start talking quieter, which would then, so that people would not be able to hear him. So then people who were not messing around, and I actually didn't mess around that much in that class because I barely went. Like for real, I barely went. It was just a big lecture hall. Like I was like, I can sleep through this there or in my bed. But you should stay in school, kids.
Get a haircut.
And so then the kids who were actually trying to like pay attention, especially the kids who were like paranoid about getting an A in absolutely everything, would then have to like grab all their winter coats and everything and then move closer to like be able to hear him, but he'd just keep talking. So then no one could hear anything for 5 minutes, but he would just carry on. It was a joke. Yeah, it was a total joke. I don't think he would have done a lot of adjusting to Zoom. I'm guessing
not. Yeah. But a good time to retire kind of person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting.
And there's a lot of people where it would be a good time to retire, but they can't, which like I respect, but like, yeah. yeah, there's, yeah.
Well, we go on and on about Seth Godin a lot, and his thoughts on education and how it developed to be what it is now, and the nature of credentialing, and these, like, everything has to be standardized and all has to be within these certain parameters. Like, it's just the antithesis of what we're talking about
Yep.
before.
Yep. And
Which
that's
to
why
train
there's
people to be obedient and sit in rows and to do the same thing over and over again, so that when we went through the Industrial Revolution, that we were training people to be good factory workers, because that's what the job was.
I don't know how to solve this problem, and I'm not trying to solve this problem. So it ain't going to be me, but it is totally possible to provide the large and small ensemble experience that you get at a school and the networking that you get out of being at a school, not in a school. It's not an easy problem, but it's not impossible. And once somebody does a good job of figuring that out, like, then it's going to get real interesting.
So
real interesting.
In your mind, will that come from within or from the outside? Like, will somebody at some school figure out that they can blow it up and they have enough credential? I mean, I've heard people talk about, I've had friends and colleagues who are, I don't want to get into the whole NASM thing, but NASM is the National Association for Schools of Music, and it's the accrediting body for schools of music. And I've heard multiple people talk about the fact that they themselves were not fans of NASM, felt like it was a necessary thing, and their plan was, as soon as they got accredited, then to kind of blow it up and start over, so that by the time they needed to get accredited again, I think it's every 7 years, I don't quite remember, that that's the time to be innovative, is after you've jumped through the hoops of the accreditation folks. But yeah, will it be disrupted from within or from without? Is an interesting question.
The odds say without. I think the odds say without, because of infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
I have taught at places or advised at places that were like that were trying to overhaul curriculum, and it ends up almost always being kind of cosmetic, and it's cosmetic is not that's not fair, but it's like, you will never convince me that that me as a student, like back then, if I were going back to school, I did not need 2 years of super narrowly defined, like what was studied, music history, and 2 years of academic based, not on the instrument, not practical music theory, and 0 minutes of marketing, of networking, of money management, of any of that stuff, mental health. Like, I mean,
improv,
like,
composition,
yes,
singing, conducting.
yes,
I mean, it's music skills
yes.
as well as not. It's interesting.
Yep, and the fact that I studying with Rex Martin was one of the highlights of my life. But the fact that I was required to take 180 hours of private lessons from Rex Martin, which was 120, excuse me, 30 times 4, 120 hours of private lessons with Rex Martin, and 0 hours with Frank Crisafulli, like not even one, or with Vince Chikowitz, or with Ray Still, who plays the oboe and who doesn't care how much air the tuba takes, but and I got to work with him in a class. It's, like, that's also, if we were building this from the ground up, 0 chance that we would say that a euphonium player I think it should be built into the system that a euphonium performance major at Carnegie Mellon will get not 10 lessons with a violin professor, but to not even get 1, I think is crazy. Like, to get none with strings, to get none with woodwinds, to get none with, not even like a small composition lesson with one of the composition faculty, like say maybe 4 people at one time, like just having 2 of those, like, here are some thoughts, and then I'll see you in 2 months. And that's just dipping the toe in with a professional holding your hand is a lot easy, is a lot more targeted than just like, that'd be like searching on YouTube. It can feel like this. You search on YouTube for how can I be more handy, and then there's like 9 billion videos that pop up on YouTube. You just don't know where to start, right? Where it's just like if there's an expert that says, "Hey, here's a simple thing that you can do," and then for maybe out of every 10 kids, 2 of them like they catch on fire, right? And then suddenly they're like writing, yeah, to me that just makes so much sense, but it's not built into our system, right? Like at all.
And it's too calcified to make any kind of dramatic change like that. There's just too many people that have too much at stake to keep it the way it is.
And all of the music theory and music history professors that I took all of those hours of classes with, they're all tenured. Like you would have to just like eliminate them, because I also understand you can't just take like $1 million a year and add to the faculty. Right. I mean, almost nowhere can do that. So there's a pie that's a size, and like you have to like remove it. But like, yeah, I also, by the way, learned more in jazz theory and ear training, taught by Russell Scarborough. Shout out to Russell if he happens to be listening. At Arizona State in graduate school, I learned more in that class than I did in 2 full years of like, like here's a Neapolitan 6 chord, here's a this, here's a that. And I didn't apply myself in theory. That's part of it, but it was all very academic. And then the jazz theory and ear training, it was all practical, and it was all about how it's actually applied on the instrument, and then like how it's like used and it just everything clicked. Like everything clicked because it was taught in a completely different way. But I was a classical major, so like that's not how it's done. Like the people who are hired to teach classical music theory are not hired to do what Russell did. So, and he might be a doctor, so maybe I should call him Dr. Scarborough. You can always round up and then they don't get upset.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me take this from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yes.
What is your position on Neapolitan ice cream? Because to me, that's just like I don't understand why you would do that. Does anybody like all 3 of those?
Yeah.
I mean, probably somebody.
Chocolate ice cream has to be pretty exquisite or interesting for me to really like. Not that I dislike chocolate ice cream. If all ice cream disappeared and that was the only kind was just chocolate, I would eat chocolate and be happy, because chocolate ice cream is a lot better than no ice cream. But like, yeah.
Oh, and anybody who's making Neapolitan ice cream is not putting like the top-notch chocolate ice cream in there.
It's not. I've never heard of artisan Neapolitan ice cream. Yeah, there you go. So tell us about your gig, Lance.
I had a gig.
Okay, so we've run out of time.
That's it. It was with the Bonita Springs Concert Band. Gary Hill's the conductor. He was for over 20 years the director of bands at University of Illinois. And Bonita Springs is just north of Naples, Florida.
Gary Smith.
What did I say?
Hill.
Like I said, Gary Smith.
I was like, speaking of Arizona State, he was no, you were talking about Gary Smith. Anyway,
Gary Smith, he lives on a hill. He doesn't live on a hill. He does live updoors. Updoors. We're doing good.
High interstate.
He's really, I don't know how long he's been doing this concert band, but
he's great.
Oh, really good. And so it was an awesome gig because there was a rehearsal on Thursday night, and then there was a concert on Sunday afternoon at 2. It was the first gig that got canceled from COVID, and the first gig I got booked back. And so Friday and Saturday, there was nothing to do. And that is a good thing. And we stayed at an Airbnb that was like in this amazing, it was like this incredible location, a block to the Gulf and a block to this really cool shopping and restaurant area. And so my wife and I had just an awesome time for 2 days. And then we went actually and did one of those fly boats. What do they call those things? Like the with the big fan in the back, and that they ride on the top of the water.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I'm tired.
Yes. Aquafoil, whatever it is. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
So fun.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And the guys, we didn't actually see that many alligators because of the time of year, apparently. The water's too brackish. When there's more fresh water, then the alligators come out. We saw plenty of alligators. They have like an alligator exhibit thing, and then Gary Smith, not Hill, who would say that, took us, and we stopped at this like beautiful roadside park thing and saw tons of alligators in the water. And it was so fun. And they just treated us great. And then the concert almost got rained out, which would have been hilarious. Like, you kidding me? No, but we made it just about a half hour after the concert ended. Torrential rains, but made it. And I played this piece called James Band by our mutual friend, Rick DeYoung, who sometimes lurks on these calls. So Rick, if you're on this call right now and you don't weigh in, you don't like indicate your presence, you suck. He wrote me this piece, and it starts with a ukulele song, and then it goes euphonium, slide trumpet, valve trombone, back to euphonium. Well, and actually sometimes sousaphone, but we left the sousaphone part out for this particular performance. Multiple costume changes, and that was kind of funny too. Never done this one outside before, and I don't know if you've been to Florida. It's hot, and it was hot, and so at one point I have to, Hannah, my wife, was helping me backstage because I run off and switch horns and put on this like crazy outfit and run back on and play a bit, and then run back off and switch outfits and run back on. And have you ever seen this tune? No. It's chaotic. So I put on these two shirts at the same time so that I can get there's a, I don't want to spoil it because you never know if you might see it. But anyway, one of the shirts is long sleeve and it's gold, and
don't spoil it.
It is of a material that when it hit my arms, like my arms were sort of sweaty, it just like, and I couldn't get my hands through the sleeves. And I had 16 bars to get off stage, switch horns, get this thing on, get back on stage with the slide trumpet. And so she's got the thing ready and she goes to put it over my head and I put my arms in and they stick. Like if you're trying to go down a slide in shorts. You're not going.
Like 1979 NBA shorts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
And so then she's like, you got it. So she just pulls it over my head. And I went out on stage with like this amount sticking out from the sleeves. And I played this slide trumpet thing. And then back in, I was able to get my hands the rest of the way through to grab the other horn and put the fright wig on. But yeah, so it was not without incident, but it was quite fun. Like 1,500 people at this outdoor amphitheater thing, which they apologized for because the previous concert had 5,000 people at it. But the snowbirds all go home at the end of March, and this was just the beginning of April. So, but it was really fun to play a concert again, and the jokes worked as well as they usually do, and yeah, it was pretty wild. The band treated me great, and Gary and his wife Bev were just so nice, and they had us over to the house, and it was just it was really, really fun. It was crazy, and so grateful that that kind of thing can happen, and it's easier down there because Florida. We'll just pause there, and also because it's nice out. Like we could be outside and everybody socially distanced out in this. I mean, it was this huge park, and so nobody, these little groups of people would sit together. But yeah, very grateful to have gotten to do that. So there you go.
There you have it.
Watch Chanel Critchlow's new show, Hustle and Horse.
Yeah. Another one might have come out today, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, check it. She's awesome. She's so great. She's
great on camera. The videos are really interesting to watch.
Yep.
She's got a cool personality.
Yep, Hustle and Horse.
Way cooler than us.
Well, there's a bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty hard to be cooler than a couple of retired brass quintet players.
It's true. It's like that joke, 4 tuba players walk past a bar. It could happen. I saw that, I get on Facebook just before we do these,
right?
And that'll be it till next time. Jim Nova got a kick out of my joke that I told on the Gonch episode, which is
that was a good one. It's a trombone episode. You got a trombone joke. You got to go listen to it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the Gonch episode was awesome.
So good.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. He's great. Totally check it out.
What are you gonna do?
Yep.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
All right. Did we do it?
I think so. HitzAcademy.com. For Jeff Nelsen inside the practice room of Canadian Brass, cool. And also Michael Sachs of Cleveland Orchestra. And there are some more. There's I don't have a date yet, but someone whose name rhymes with Schmatrick Schmeridan will also, sometimes he goes by Schmat.
Oh.
Or Schmatrick. So the breathing shrimp guy. So sometimes with my son, I like to, flip I'm sure there's a word for this, when you flip the letters of the first letter of two words. Is there a word for that?
So like my name?
No, yes,
it would be like Lance Leduc, but if you switched it,
yes,
it would be.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I have a friend named Bruce Lazier, and we would often do his.
That's ridiculous.
He runs Harmony Music Studio in Harmony, Pennsylvania.
I did that the other day with Nicholas, where I asked him if he wanted some Nick and Chuggets. Which I didn't realize before it came out that it was going to be that funny. I've now
Nick
said
and Chuggets
this is what I do. If I say something funny, I repeat it 95 times, and it's like not really funny after the third time. Like, even if it was legit funny the first time, second time, third, and then the 4th through 95 are for me. Yeah. It is for an audience of one. But also my dad laughs at all of my jokes because he's the same brand of meathead as I am. So Nick and Chuggets is pretty funny. So, and Nick was like, oh. So, yeah, there you have it.
Hickolas Nitz doesn't like that joke?
Yeah, there you go. Hickolas Nitz. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Speaking of which, the reason that we're going early tonight is I get to see my son for the first time in, I think, 2 months. He's a freshman in college, and his college is so far away that we don't get to see him very often. He lives 8 miles away. But he's actually, I'm going to see him for the first time in 2 months. I don't think I've seen him since Christmas, actually.
I have seen Duncan as much as you have since Christmas.
I think that's true. Yeah.
So
I asked if we could go early today. So thank you, Andrew, for allowing that to happen.
Tell Duncan that he will always be the little twit that I shoved out on stage, even if he's actually growing up and becoming an adult. So
yeah, I'll be happy to tell him that.
Please do.
It will make him happy.
All right. Well, that is it, I think. So we'll see y'all next Sunday for another one at the usual time. Lance, I'm going to miss you desperately.
That's the way I wanted you to miss me.
I'm gonna miss you really.